Hello, folks, and thanks for listening. Today I have a great guest, Juston Burris of the Carolina Panthers. We've all heard of players at the end of their career not knowing what to do and having run through their money, and it's really a tragedy when it happens. Juston caught my eye. He's an amazing counterexample. He's a young player on his way up, and he's proactively investing and building his financial future. I hope to dig into his progress and his plans and his investment philosophy, but I'm also an NFL fan, and I hope to talk about his career a little bit as well. Juston, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So first of all, I recently read an article about the real estate investments that you're doing. Are you focusing on residential, commercial, industrial, or some other class of real estate?
Right now, just definitely focus on residential. With anything, you just need more knowledge on it. I haven't educated myself in the other areas, but definitely residential, short-term rentals. Looking to get into some more long-term rentals, but Airbnb has been my bread and butter. Just been a passion of mine.
Awesome. So it has been mostly short-term. Have you tried long-term at all, or has it always been short-term?
So I haven't. And my mom, as you know, been the reason I got into real estate, and she does property management. So I do want to get into it with her. She actually just bought her first property in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's going to be a long-term rental. But eventually I want to get into it with her. But right now I've just been doing short-term rental.
Very cool. So you mentioned your mom's a property manager. How long has she been doing that?
I'm not trying to age my mom at all.
But she's been doing it for a while.
Oh yeah, definitely a while. She's in the Section 8 housing market right now, and she loves it. That's what she wants to do. She loves that space.
That's awesome. So she's moved from servicing it to actually investing in it. That's really cool, and I'm sure she sees some big advantages because of what she's seen throughout her career, managing the properties. It probably helps as being an owner.
Definitely. Section 8 is, you got to jump through so many different things with the government, and she knows how to navigate those hurdles and things. So that's definitely where she wants to be, and she loves it. She loves helping people in that way.
Yeah, I had a rental property that we flipped over to Section 8 in the Raleigh area, and there were some hurdles to jump through. It was a learning process, but once you get approved for it, it actually becomes a very reliable source of income. The government pays.
Yeah, definitely, and they pay on time.
So I take it, you got started in real estate investment, seeing what your mom was doing. Was that it, or did you go buy your first home? Because a lot of people I know that get into it, they buy their first home and then they think about, I could buy another one and maybe rent it to somebody, maybe make a little bit of income. But how did that all come together for you?
That was a part of it. My mom was a part of it. But the biggest thing was actually when I got drafted to New York, and I'm in North Jersey. I'm paying. I think I started out paying $2,800 for a 2-bedroom, and I was like, this is too much. And and I'm looking at housing prices in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I wanted to move to, and a mortgage was $1,600. I was paying $1,200 and not seeing any benefits from it. So that kind of got me started. That's where I came down here and bought my first house, bought my first condo, and that's kind of how I got started. And really, to piggyback off that, kind of looked at it as a glass half full thing. I said, the developers who built this property, they're raking in cash hand over fist, and I want to be in that space, and just seeing that happen, and that kind of got me started and wanted to get into real estate.
So you bought the condo because this is your second tour of duty in Carolina, is that correct?
No, this is my first. This is my first one.
Okay.
So I started out with the Jets. I was there for 3 years. Went to Cleveland for 2. Now I'm in Carolina.
Okay. Awesome. So obviously you've played in a handful of cities. Was there a stint with the Raiders as well? Or?
That was about like a week.
A week, okay.
I don't really.
It's probably better for you.
Yeah.
So does visiting and spending time in these cities help you come up with a strategy for targeting different geographies at all? Or, I mean, obviously 3 years in New York was probably the longest
I guess looking at being in those different areas, seeing those different markets, obviously Cleveland is way different than a New York, and in New York is different than a Charlotte now. So, I mean, just being able to learn, being able to talk to people who are, real estate experts in those areas has definitely helped me. I definitely wanted to get, especially doing Airbnb, I wanted to get to a place where I could get to those properties within 3 to 4 hours, just because it's me and my girlfriend doing it right now. We don't have any property managers, so we're doing everything. So I wanted to be able to get to those properties soon. So definitely very regional. Do I want to expand? Definitely, but obviously want to scale it within my means. So
yeah. So you mentioned 3 to 4 hours. Where do you own properties now?
So I have 2 in Asheville, one in Wintergreen, Virginia. That one is undergoing a renovation. That's our first renovation. The first 2 in Asheville didn't have to do much work to it, maybe just paint, update a few things here and there, but not too much. This one is a big undertaking. It's making me a little nervous, but I think it'll come through and it'll be very beneficial to us.
That's awesome. I hear that Asheville is the top short-term rental market in the country. Is that why you're there, or is it just it was 3 to 4 hours? And
yeah, well, I got into this because it's been a passion of mine, and I wanted to go to a place that I love to go to. I got started in this because I wanted to get a place that me and my family can go and hang out, have a place of our own, and Asheville was that place for me. I loved Asheville, love going there, love the different things you can do. It's really not seasonal. You can go there in the winter, you can go there in the summer, and have a blast both times. So that's just Asheville was the closest, being 2 hours from Charlotte, that I really felt that this was a safe bet. But yeah, I love Asheville.
Yeah, so obviously I met you through my lovely fiance Victoria, and she's got quite a few clients who buy in Asheville, and a lot of them like it because they can go vacation for a couple weeks and then turn the Airbnb on.
Right.
And do you do that with the properties, or are they strictly rental generated?
No, I definitely go when I can. Obviously, I want that rental income, so anytime I can get it rented, I'll definitely turn down that vacation. But definitely, I think maybe a month ago, I had a lot of friends that came with me. So I have 2 houses in Nashville. We took up both houses, had a great weekend. And they have great restaurants, great, just
the hiking's amazing. Might have
hiking's
been a little
amazing.
could a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it was a little cold, but just the atmosphere there, man. The people there, they're great, very laid back. It's just a place to go and relax.
Yeah, it is. It's a wonderful part of North Carolina. I think we have a lot of great things going for us in North Carolina, but Asheville is one of them. It's a college town. It's the weather's great, and just the vibe in the city. The Orange Peel music venue is amazing. I've been there at times. I go for a specific show and I look at their lineup for the whole week, and I'm just amazed at the acts that are coming through. And then the restaurant scene is out of control and only getting better. Yeah.
Amazing. Vinny's Italian is my favorite place, man.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that one out. We went to Karate, I think.
Love it too. That's my girlfriend's favorite place.
Okay.
Yeah. She loves the top as a small plate thing.
Yeah.
She loves it.
Yeah, but it really has something for everybody. I mean, it is a great town for sure. Are there other markets you have your eye on, or are you going to double down on the Wintergreen and Asheville markets?
I want to diversify a little bit. I've been doing the mountains. I have 3 in the mountains now, but I want to eventually go down to the beach. We're actually going to Oak Island this weekend, and that's hopefully the next place that we find an Airbnb, find a rental. Definitely want to do Oak Island. The dream is Charleston. Charleston's tough. That's a tough market to get into. It's very expensive. Hilton Head, Savannah. So those definitely, like I said, within a couple hours, you just pop down to, and places that we love to go to.
Yep.
So
that's awesome. Those are all great cities, and all places that somebody in Charlotte would spend some time in for sure. So I've heard that in the Airbnb market during COVID, that it isn't just short-term rentals. There are some longer-term executive rentals, because I think professionals who are still busy and still working but not going into the office are realizing I can work from anywhere. So I've heard of people using Airbnb to do month-long type of executive rentals. Have you seen that in your properties?
Definitely. Right in the middle of COVID, I had a couple couples who were just tired of working from home, and they just want to get away. So they would come in 2 weeks. A couple were for a month, and they just want to change the scenery. Just a house. Everything was, hey, how's your Wi-Fi? That was a big question, but
Wi-Fi is the most important resource in a Zoom era, right?
Of course. So yeah, they loved it. They just loved to be able to get away. They would have kids who just kind of getting stir crazy in the house, and just wanted to have a place that they can go outside and hang out and still and be able to work, but have a different same chain of scenery.
That's great. So you mentioned that you manage the properties. Do you have contractors in Wintergreen and in Asheville who come in and clean the place for you and everything else? Or?
Yeah. So I have a great husband and wife team in Asheville, and they've been great. The husband is he's great with his hands. He does a lot of our, anytime something breaks, he comes and fixes it. He does the lawn.
He does what your mom would do in a more traditional property management setting, I suppose. Okay.
Yeah. And then the wife comes and cleans, and she makes sure everything is stocked. And if I ever need to get different towels or more sheets or something like that, she tells me. We have great communication. They're a great family.
How did you find them, out of curiosity? Were they somebody you happen to know? Or
once again, connections. My mom is in the property management space. She has connections with other properties around North Carolina. She reached out to, I guess, a friend in Asheville and asked them who cleans their properties when they're up. So she found them.
That's awesome.
It was great. It was great.
Something similar in Wintergreen then? Or?
So I haven't got it in Wintergreen yet.
Okay.
We're looking. That one is still a little bit ways off from being, obviously with the renovation, we're still 4 or 5 months away. So we have time on that one, but we're definitely looking there.
So how do you go about finding new properties? Do you target an area and then find an agent who can help you find things? Or
definitely. Well, I guess the data-driven people would not like this answer, but my first kind of thing that I look for is places that I would like to visit. That's how I got started in this, with Asheville. So that's definitely places that I love. Whatever you're passionate about, you're going to go hard for. So I think that's one factor. And then the second one, like we're talking, you had Amir Durkic on here a couple months ago. Those search engines, those data engines that Rabu has, that AirDNA has, I'm on there all day. I'm on Realtor. I'm on there all day, just looking at just the best areas that has good rental income and that people are going, and it's not too seasonal. But yeah, so that's pretty much my process.
That's cool. And so I take it though that you enjoy that process. So that probably doesn't feel like work when you're looking at properties.
My girlfriend, she'll joke all the time. He's up till 4 a.m. I'm just putting in different addresses, just different areas, learning about the different areas, what restaurants, what different things they do, and I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Very cool. So now let's suppose you've found a couple properties. You're using your instinct, which I love. Warren Buffett invests in companies that he can understand their business. If you know a place and you like it, then you understand that place. How do you go about evaluating the potential profitability? Because you're in it to build a portfolio, but you're in it to generate rental income as well.
So we, like I said, we go and we look at Airbnb, we look at VRBO, we see what their occupancy rates is, we see what their average daily rates are. And like I said, that Rabu, the search engine, the data engine is great in that.
I'm glad to hear. I'm an investor in Rabu.
Yeah, there you go. But that's been very helpful. But just going in and talking to the people who already established there. We found that a lot of people are helpful in just giving information about the market, and that's been very helpful for us just to see what do you think you're getting this year, or what's your occupancy rate, things like that. That's been very helpful.
So do you take into consideration the age of the property? Because I know maintenance can start to eat into your profits, or is that something where you're generally looking at newer properties and you don't have to think about it as much?
So I guess I can answer that 2 ways. My first one, I was definitely looking at newer within a few years. But my next one in Wintergreen that I did the renovation for, that was built in 1985, I want to say.
Wow.
So that's a major renovation. So that was just something I wanted to get and build that for my family. That my family's an hour away, we can meet up there. It sleeps 20, so we can have a house that everybody can come to. So that was kind of more of a reach as far as when it was built, but we're definitely it was everything was sound, everything was stable. The inspection came back great, and we're gonna move forward with renovating and making it our own, and bringing it into this century.
So sleeps 20. I mean, I guess, is there a sweet spot? And this is my ignorance with short-term rentals and Airbnb, but I imagine there's a sweet spot where it's like, hey, if you have 6 or 8 or 12 or 20. where there's a trade-off between, because if people don't need that much space, or maybe there's more demand for those big ones because groups of families can go together.
I guess it depends on where you're going. Like I said, with a place like the beach, you want a bigger place where, you know, families are going to stay for a week. 2 families are going to come and build and stay at the same house for a week or 2. In a market like Asheville, you're getting more couples, more, you know, 2 to 4 to 6 people coming into one house. So would a bigger house work? Probably. I'm not sure. I'm not well versed in that, but I think, you know, our, you know, properties in Asheville, sleep 8, and they've been doing well. And that's kind of where I would stay there. But within the beach or within the mountains of Wintergreen, I wanted to do a little bit more, get a little bit more space for more families to come in. So with smaller properties, you have more turnover. You have more communication with hopefully you have a great cleaning lady, great team that it's going to be a lot of communication. But more turnover. So, but bigger properties, you have less turnover, less things like that. So it's all about the trade-off on what you can handle.
That's awesome. So obviously you're looking at the profitability. Are you thinking about the long run appreciation of these properties as well?
Definitely. I got into this to help my family, to help my kids, my future kids that build a business for them, create long-term wealth, generational wealth that that can pass down to them. So having houses that appreciate, having houses that maybe I can turn these 2 houses into a duplex where I get into that long-term rental market. Scaling up, however that goes. I don't have an idea of where that's going to go, but we'll see. But definitely scale it to where I can build a business that benefits my generations down the line.
Well, what I've seen, I mean, I'm sure your kids will love having a dad who played in the NFL. But it's also, I think, just seeing a father or a mother who's entrepreneurial and putting their money to work and making their money earn money for them. I think that instills some habits in people. I've seen with my kids that they look at problems and they say, could I start a business doing that? And it brings a tear to my eye because I'm like, that's what I want them to think. Not how do I go work for somebody doing this, but how do I do it? And so whether they get into real estate like you or it inspires them to go take risks and do other things, I think that's a great example. It'll still be much cooler. They're still not going to say my dad's a property investor. They're going to say he played in the NFL, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, they definitely, that would probably be the first thing. But, I want them to see that, I built something.
Yeah.
I built something from, I took, having a great start in life with the NFL, and I took it and I grew upon it. And I think that lesson there will be great for them.
Absolutely. Do you have in mind, it sounds like you just want to hold a property forever and you may sell it or you may, but do you have like a time frame in mind when you think about these things? Or
like I said, I want to learn more about the different markets. I want to learn more about Airbnb. I'm still young in this game. As far as I've done this for probably about 12, 13 months now. I'm still learning every day, and I don't really know how long I want to hold it. Those 2 Asheville homes, like I said, could turn into something else. I could leverage both of those and turn into something bigger. Who knows? So I know I don't have a timeline as far as how long I want to hold something, and if it's still profitable, let's keep it going.
I've heard a saying, if you build a business, and so this isn't specific to properties, but it's if you build a business that you wouldn't mind owning forever, somebody might offer you so much money that you don't own it forever.
Right.
So if you own it that way, then it probably opens up options for you. So that's probably a great way to think about it.
Definitely.
Are there resources the NFL provides for players who want to take control of their financial future, like yourself?
Definitely. Well, how me and Victoria got connected was through a NFL real estate program, and that was a program where you can learn how to become a real estate
investor,
a real estate investor or a real estate agent.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So that was how we got connected, and that was just something I had. I had the Airbnb idea, but I just wanted to learn more about real estate. I wanted to learn everything that I could. And that was something that I could do during the summer or the off season when all I was doing was training, no practice or anything. And that was something that I just wanted to use my time wisely. I wanted to use my time in the NFL and be able to use these connections that I have, and not look back and say, oh, you should have did more. You should have been, talking to more people. I'm a very reserved guy, but I've had to come out of my shell a little bit to, talk to more people and put my name out there, which is
that's great that the NFL is doing that now. Is that the NFLPA or is that the NFL itself?
The NFLPA.
Okay.
They do a lot of stuff. We actually have a real estate seminar coming up April 21st, and they just do so much. Whether they have broadcasting, journalism, real estate. If you want to get into venture capitalism, they have everything that you can imagine, and they're a great resource.
That's great. One of my favorite shows, not because it's a great show, but it's a very fun show. The Rock is in Ballers. He's an agent for NFL. He's a financial agent for NFL players, and I always wonder, how much of the guidance comes from somebody like that. That's an actual, hey, I have an agency representation agreement with you, versus the NFL trying to take care of its own players. It sounds like they've gotten a lot smarter. We all hear stories about these old players who are they didn't make a lot of money to begin with. They've got all sorts of health issues, right. and it's heartbreaking. And I assume that the NFL was taking steps to help educate people, because it's a lot of money that people are making, and frankly, that money can be multiplied into huge sums of money, because it doesn't take a lot of investment capital to grow if you're investing in the right things, whether it be real estate or you mentioned VC. Imagine investing the money, some of these contracts in early Uber or Facebook or some of these other companies. Did you have any mentors who taught you the value of investing from an NFL perspective, or was it all just mom teaching you about real estate?
No, I've had a great team. I've had a lot of people around me who have taught me their ways and taught me what not to do. My mom was the biggest influence, of course, and not so much. I wouldn't say financially. It was just how to be a better person, how to be a great person, how to work for what you want. And that's something I learned from her early on, and to see where she came from and to see her building her own business. I think she started her business close to maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, but just to see her step out on her own and do her own thing and build her own business, that was eye-opening for me. And
it is awesome when you see a family member do that, because it's not all happiness and good times too. You see some of the dark times, and it's hard when you go out on your own. There's no safety net. You're just out on your own. It is really cool to see someone you love going through that and being successful with it. That's awesome. So do you do any other types of investments besides real estate at this stage, or?
I'm learning. Like I said, education. I'm trying to educate myself on different things, but real estate is what has drawn me closer, has been my passion, and that's kind of what I read about. That's kind of what I gravitate towards when I see something online, and that's what I've learned most about. But there are definitely other things, other avenues that I like. We talked about different avenues of real estate, commercial real estate, something that I want to learn more about. It's just all about educating myself more, and I need to get into that. But residential real estate is what I've been.
Yeah, even on the real estate within residential, it's been interesting seeing Victoria's investor clients, because some of them create income streams like yourselves, and some of them, they find the diamonds in the rough and they flip it. And flipping has gotten a negative connotation, but there is real money to be made. I mean, it's a different mindset, right? It's not you're not playing the long game, you're just finding value. But I think that there's a similar concept in stock investing, in the stock market, where, okay, I'm going to buy things that generate income, or I'm going to buy things that I think are undervalued, and I can sell them relatively quickly. And then to your point, the commercial real estate, there's so many other angles to it. I tend to agree with you. I say if you're good at something, double down on that. And then when you're bored, figure out the other asset classes that you want to invest in. But if you're not interested in stocks, or you're not interested in foreign exchange, why go spend time on that if you can make money in something that you actually enjoy?
That's actually something that I've wanted to look into. I actually got my degree in finance.
Okay.
and I definitely.
Where'd you go to school?
NC State.
Oh, very cool.
So I got my undergrad in finance, business management, finance, and then getting my master's now from NFLPA. Another shout out to them. They have a great program with Indiana University that is through their Kelly Business School online. Get my master's of finance online. So that's
great. So I mentioned that our family is friends with Tom Carter, the Carter family, and Tom is part of the NFLPA. Mm-hmm. He's one of the player reps. He's got 8 teams, and he himself, he got drafted first round by the Washington football team at the time, called something different. Yeah. And I remember he was 20 years old, the youngest player ever, and he went back to school and finished his degree, and then he went back and got his master's degree, and they were both in finance. And I think that people who learn finance with an undergrad and a graduate degree just have a leg up on other people. They just understand the numbers in a way where they don't have to pay 10% to a financial agent, or if they do, they're overlooking what that person is doing. So That's awesome. I applaud you for continuing to invest in your education. That's great. So you mentioned that you met Amir and Rabu. Have you ever looked at early stage or tech companies at all from an investment perspective?
I have not, and that's something that, like I said, I want to get into. I want to learn more about.
I think you'd probably enjoy that. Like it's in a similar way that you enjoy real estate. Right. That's an enjoyable asset class, because you see these young people who have ideas and they want to change the world, and they're bucking the. They're defying conventional wisdom and going out and getting it. I think you'd find that pretty exciting.
Definitely, especially what Amir is doing with that data engine. Like, there's so many things that you can do with that, and it was so easy to manipulate the numbers and things like that. So it was a great thing to have.
Very cool. Have you ever done any endorsement deals, or have any of your friends who do them? I'm just always curious about that, because that's another aspect of business where it's like I can use my status to,
Unfortunately, I haven't been one of those big name guys yet. I've kind of haven't done any of those big endorsement deals yet. But it's great to see all the guys who do have them. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm curious your take, and I know you haven't done any of these endorsement deals, but if for an entrepreneur looking to get professional athletes engaged as either an influencer or a spokesperson, do you have any advice for how to work with that? Because you obviously know these players. You play alongside them, the ones that are influencers. I mean, what do you think people get wrong when they try to approach those people about doing endorsement deals or partnering?
I think you see a lot of people contact these NFL players through social media, and the NFL players don't know a lot about their business, so they think it's just a random person who's contact. They don't know anything about the business. I think a lot of deals come from the NFL player knowing somebody that they know, or making that bridge, making that connection. I think that's what it is. You got to believe in the product. You got to believe in what you're selling, and if somebody doesn't know exactly what your brand is or what your product is, it's hard for somebody to endorse that.
Yeah.
So just getting that product out there and marketing it in a way that these people are confident in putting their name behind it is the name of the game.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I'd like to shift gears a little bit to your experience in the NFL. I'd love to walk through kind of your history as a player. I love your story, because I think in the beginning you had a little bit of adversity, but you've stayed the course, and I see your name on the stat sheet of every Panthers game, and a lot of that is because Victoria's like, look up what Juston did. But we see you're on the stat sheet every time. When did you start playing organized football? Were you high school? Were you middle school? Pee Wee league?
Oh yeah, Pee Wee. I was Raleigh Parks and Rec. I was 7 years old. Green Road Eagles, yep. That was my first time playing football. I was actually a quarterback. That quickly died out. I was definitely not a quarterback, but I was athletic. I could run. I was a good player throughout my entire time, and I just loved it. I loved it.
Did you have any coaches at a young age that really saw your potential? Or
definitely, my high school coach was very influential in just my development. He stayed on me if I ever slacked off in class, or teacher said.
I bet he still calls you.
Yeah, definitely. I talk to him all the time, and I love him. Chris Martin, man, I love him. But he stayed on me. Just anytime class, he would come to class if I was messing up, but which didn't happen a lot. My mom was big into school, but definitely stayed on me, man. I definitely appreciate him.
So, so you're playing in high school. What position are you by the time you're a junior or a senior?
I was a wide receiver. I was a cornerback. I played a little bit of quarterback, safety, running back. I
Slash.
I did a lot. Yeah, I did a lot. And I just didn't know exactly what position I would play in college. I just knew I wanted to play. I knew I wanted to get there. So I was trying to play everything that I could. Anytime we were on the field, I wanted to be on offense, defense, special teams. Just wanted to be on the field, just wanted to play. I loved it.
That's awesome. And so when do college recruiters start to show up at the high school games?
Well, it started for me a little late, but I started getting my first recruiting letters probably after my junior year.
Okay.
Got my first offer right after that from Maryland, but I always wanted to go to NC State. Both my parents went to NC State. Grew up a Wolfpack fan, so that's once that offer came in, I was done. It was over with, and I loved my decision. Wanted to go there since that Pee Wee League. My mom used to take me to games, and just Carter Finley Stadium was amazing.
So that's awesome, because here you are, you want to go to NC State. Obviously, you've got an affinity for North Carolina. Your career, you get drafted into New York, but then you eventually make it to Carolina. Can you walk me through kind of the ups and downs of draft day through everything to when you get to Carolina? Yeah,
so just leaving the state of North Carolina for the first time, I was 22. First time really being away from my parents, because I grew up 30 minutes from campus. So that's really my first. I was still going home, laundry, all that stuff, mom cooking. I was there, but just going to New York for the first time and really being on my own was a culture shock, especially going to New York where things don't close till 6 a.m. and the people are they talk a little different than you do, and they act a little different than you do. It was a blessing and a curse as far as I got a little beside myself as far as going to New York and being on my own and not really having that structure that I needed. So I had to learn quickly, but definitely it helped me grow up.
And how do you go about learning how to deal with that? Are there players that take you under their wing at that point, or is it an NFLPA rep who's like, hey,
It's definitely the players that the veterans that you have. If you have a great veteran on your side, man, you learn a lot. You learn quickly. You learn what not to do quickly, and that's what I've tried to do now that I'm a veteran, and I need to talk to these guys about, hey, just relax a little bit. Take your time. Spend your money wisely. Those type of things that these guys need to know. Who young male coming into money at this age, it's tough. It's tough. So
we always hear about the spotlight in New York, whether it's football or I'm a Yankees fan, even though I'm from the DC area. Especially with the Yankees, you hear just about the pressure of the media. Is that something that while you were there, could you feel it? Is it palpable? Is it?
They don't hold back. Let's just say that it's definitely a big difference between New York and let's say a Charlotte market. New York, they don't hold back, man. They'll tell you exactly how they feel about how you played. But you gotta have thick skin. That's one thing I had to learn, man. Just let it roll off your shoulder. And go out there and play the next play.
That's awesome. So was it a bigger adjustment going from high school to college or from college to pros in your mind?
I definitely say it was a bigger adjustment going from from college to the pros. Like I said, being out on my own, it's really becomes, really go from a student athlete to strictly a professional athlete, and you have to carry yourself that way. College, you still have guys, you still have 17, 18-year-olds, and the coaches still kind of coddle those kids a little bit because they know this is their first time away from home. So you still have that factor in there. Once you're a professional athlete, nobody's holding your hand.
There's no crying in baseball, as they say.
There's not at all. So, you got to grow up quick. If you haven't grown up by then, you got to grow up quick.
Wow. What are the biggest challenges you've seen as you've moved from one team or one city to another? Has that been a challenge when you go from New York to Cleveland to
It's just
Panthers?
it's a challenge. The first time was tough. Going from New York to Cleveland, that was my first time leaving. A city that you had known your whole professional career. I was there 3.5 years, and then going to a totally different market.
Until recently, that was a terrible team to play for. I suspect that.
Yeah, I mean,
just judging from the record. And
the records were bad, but I tell you what, man, Cleveland as a city, they love their Browns, and that's one thing I learned being in Cleveland. They are diehard Browns fans, and they are some of the best fans in the world. And that's one city that you wouldn't think it, but I loved it. I loved Cleveland, and it was tough. It was tough to not go back. But the Panthers presented an offer, and just to come back home, play in front of my family, it was the right choice for me.
That's awesome. So you play safety, right? But you mentioned that you played a whole bunch of other positions. Did you ever seriously think about a different position, or was it obvious at NC State or in New York that safety is where I need to be playing?
So in college, I played cornerback. So NC State, all cornerback. My first 3 years in the NFL, I played cornerback.
Oh, wow.
So I just recently moved to safety 2 years ago.
Okay.
My second year with Cleveland.
How different is that going from corner to safety? Is one more stressful than the other? I mean,
I will say corner is tough. Safety is tough too, but corner is, you're on an island. You have to cover that guy one-on-one. It's tough. It's tough. Safety is a little more physical. Yeah. As far as tackling and taking on blocks and things like that.
Did you beef up when you moved to safety? Or?
Yeah.
I mean, you're very lean, obviously, but you did put some weight on.
I definitely put some weight on. Had to just taking on those pulling guards, those offensive linemen. They're big. They are big.
Not only are they big, they're fast at that level.
Yep.
Yeah, that looks so scary to me when I see a tackle pulling or a guard pulling, and I'm like,
get him before he gets you. That's the whole mentality.
I would try to get around him. So what steps do you take in the off season to maintain your health and your longevity? Because that obviously, we know that careers can be very short, but I think the science has gotten a lot better around how to be healthy. Are there things that you do proactively in the off season?
Definitely. I'm in the facility every day. Whether it's stretching, whether it's in the cold tubs, working out. They have a great team at the Panthers, and they definitely helped me get through the little nicks and injuries that I had this past season, so that next year I'm ready to go full speed. So yeah, just a lot of yoga, a lot of Pilates, a lot of stretching, a lot of not necessarily working out, definitely working out, but doing the small things to get those small little muscles working and firing. Is big. So
you ever do sauna? I'm just curious. You mentioned the cold baths, which I love. We have Victoria and I have a cold plunge in our garage, but I'm curious if you do the sauna much.
Yeah, definitely. With COVID, we kind of shut that down for a little bit, but it's starting to open up a little bit now. Very
cool. So, what players do you look up to in terms of the way they carry themselves off the field, either current players or players that have played in the past?
Well, I have a great group of guys here in Charlotte that we just bounce ideas off of. Anytime they have a connection or that will help me out, anytime I have a connection that help them out, man, we just bounce ideas off of each other. We talk every day, just trying to figure this thing called life out, man. Just trying to figure it out. So Marcus Burley, he played for the Texans and Cleveland, Seattle. He played 5 years. He just retired maybe 2 years ago. Doug Middleton, another guy, he plays for Jacksonville Jaguars. Those are like two of the guys that we definitely will probably end up going into business together whenever we find the time to really sit down. And but they're great guys, man. They have the same mindset as me, entrepreneurial mindset, and they're doing great things.
Awesome. So you mentioned those two in particular. Are there players you see doing things financially or business-wise that inspire you? And I'm thinking, like, for me, I look at what, like, a Magic Johnson has done in the he took this amazing basketball career, but now he's a billionaire and building businesses that just doing things that are very impressive. Are there people like that you look up to? Or
definitely, there's definitely a lot of guys. You see a lot of great stories. I think a lot of people harp on those bad stories, but there are a lot of great stories about guys who are doing the right things and are definitely financially successful after football. A big guy that I've always looked up to, just anything. LeBron James is doing great things. And that was kind of my idol. And I love, I say I'm a LeBron fan. I've been a Cleveland fan. I've been a Heat fan. I've been a Lakers fan. Everything. I just, I'm all LeBron. So
it's funny because I love to say that Jordan's the greatest ever, and I love the show that they did on Netflix. I don't remember the name of it. What was this?
The Last Dance.
The Last Dance. Yep. Yeah, I love it. But honestly, like I've heard some podcasts with LeBron and what he's doing on the court. He's amazing. I grew up in an era where it was Jordan. LeBron wasn't a thing yet, but off the court, just what LeBron is doing is amazing. I heard an interview he did on the Tim Ferriss podcast where I just had so much respect on so many different dimensions for what he's doing, and it's great to me to see. And it isn't just in athletics, right? Like you see. Kanye is worth $6.5 billion now, and it's cool to see like people that can parlay one career into a business career and do other things. So that's awesome that you're already thinking about it and working on it, because that's how those guys started too, right? They like
start from somewhere.
Yeah, you do. You say, you know what? Okay, I'm secure in this career. Now let me think about what does my future look like. So I really applaud. What you're doing. This has been great, man. I really appreciate you spending some time with me. I look forward to hearing more about your growing real estate portfolio and seeing your career continue to grow.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks. Cheers.